Hello, dear friends, and welcome back to the Learning Future podcast. I'm, of course, Luca Parry. Oh, gosh, we've got a great conversation today, and it's with this wonderful educator, Sal Gordon. He's actually the principal, the head of teaching and learning at Green School Bali, where he's been since 2013. He's had such a fascinating career, Sal. I mean, I'm really excited to learn from you in this way. You know, he's tried more roles than I've ever could think. Sailing boats, writing books, driving trucks, a whole range of different things. But he's also lived in India and worked for a health and environment NGO. So very much a global citizen. Um, it's fair to say that Sal now is an education revolutionary, and the Green School is very much a new model of what a school of the future could be, or even perhaps should be. And we're going to talk quite a lot about that and the regenerative piece to that. If, for those that don't know, I was very lucky to visit Green School a couple of months ago now, Sal, and a school without walls, and actually have a look at the education model. I mean, completely nested in the jungle of Bali in Indonesia. Absolutely remarkable. And so looking forward to jumping in, Sal. Thank you so much for joining us.
Yeah, Luca, it's a pleasure. I loved hanging out with you on campus.
Oh,
Yeah, it's going to be cool having a chat with you today.
well, Sal, it just feels like to me, there's nothing quite, there's no professional learning that's better than actually going and seeing learning happening. Talking to young people. I remember going and seeing some of the young people take us to show their kind of sprout project, and they were using different vegetables as sprouts, and like, taste this one, it tastes like pea. Just the kind of enthusiasm. Oh, it just reminded me of why education is just, it's just such a vehicle for transformation,
Yeah.
passion, and all of it.
Mm.
We asked this question whenever we begin a conversation, Sal, and it's what's something you're learning at the moment,
Mm.
you know?
You gave, just for everyone else, Luca gave me this question beforehand, so I should have actually got a really good answer. I suppose there's lots, Luca.
Yeah.
I'm not going to say lifelong learning, but I'm learning a lot, or more everyone, but I'm definitely learning a lot about myself as a leader and as an educator. I'm a parent, so I think
Mm,
that's something that I'm mindful and aware of learning.
mm,
I'm a bit of an artist too, and so that helps me. I've been playing around with different forms of art.
mm.
Right now, I might actually change all of that and say that I'm just learning really more so in the last couple of weeks how hard change is and how hard. I mean, you've described Green School Valley in a really nice way, but
Mm,
it's a tough ship to sail.
mm,
And even though we have created a new model, educating for the future in a wall-less jungle campus, it's really tough. It's hard.
yeah.
It's a difficult job to do to maintain culture, to maintain a campus that has no walls, and the jungle comes and eats it up alive. And I suppose that's probably very relevant to everyone else. Like I'd want to say, change is tough, but we need
Yeah.
to change. It's hard work, but we shouldn't be scared of that hard work. And we're probably I'm learning how hard that is to maintain it over a longer period of time
Yeah.
in my job as a leader at the school.
Do you know, it's funny, Sal, when I think about, I really do believe that when we think about transforming systems, which is, a lot of the work that we think about transforming schools, as opposed to improving them or tweaking them, it's like, how do we really take the elements and reorganize them in a profound way so that we're more human-centered in our approach, more ecological, more regenerative? And I wonder about this thing with change that I think Gandhi said, we're all trying to change the world, but we must begin by changing ourselves.
Hmm.
And it's just such a beautiful truism of leadership, right? It's like, damn, who
Yeah,
am I being
yeah,
in this? Where
yeah,
am I being kind of my most authentic self and acknowledging the vulnerability that comes with leading a beautiful
yeah.
but complex organization like the one that you lead?
Well, education's more than just a clock in, clock off sort of job. We're dealing with emotions and futures and feelings, not just knowledge. This
Yeah,
isn't just a knowledge-based thing. And
yeah,
so, that side of change. We're also talking about creating a culture
yes,
and understanding that education is the vehicle of the future cultures that we live in, and understanding that that's a tough job. It's important, but we can't the status quo, the
yeah,
conveyor belt that
yeah.
education's been on. We got to get off it, and it's going to take hard work. And I'm here with my sleeves rolled up into it,
Mm,
but still learning every day how hard that is.
yeah. Well,
Um,
Sal, I think it's a wonderful thing in learning organizations for the people that we assign as leaders, in this case, you, you know, the requirement actually is to be the best learner,
Yeah.
not the best knower. And I think your comment before about, ladders of knowledge that we've built our education system around, like, linear,
Yeah.
and look, sure, useful, right? But to a point, particularly now with the AI revolution well underway, that's augmenting cognition. And so, yeah, I think this model that you've kind of been drawn to and now lead, I think it's really interesting. Can you give, for people that don't know, I mean, clearly I know, and I can see in the background of the video now, for those watching the video, there's like palm trees, it's all bamboo. Now, give
Yeah.
us a sense of what the Green School Bali is.
Well, I mean, we're a private international school, so let's get that out of the way first. We're not an experiment. We're not a camp. Our students go from 3-year-olds to 18-year-olds. Our grade 12s graduate, go to university. So that sort of helps contextualize the rest.
Yeah.
We're a 15-year-old school, a learning community with a mission of being a community of learners, making our world sustainable. We're still 15, yeah. So I've got a 15-year-old son,
Wow.
Taj, but we act very similar to a 15-year-old person as well. It's interesting as a leader to see that.
A wonderful
But
age.
we've developed our own learning program. We've developed that around different frameworks in terms of not throwing away important academic learning,
Yep.
but integrating a lot of thematic real world learning and also a lot of experiential learning. We've designed a lot of in explicit skill-based learning and values-based learning opportunities. We're educating for sustainability. And it's not just environmental sustainability, it's social and economical and personal sustainability that we talk about. The campus is basically, like you said, nestled in the jungle beside a river in Bali. Every building except for the yoga studio is bamboo. They're all wall-less, and that's an analogy for our model of education too, in terms of breaking down the traditional walls of education. We're about 500 students this year, growing probably in the next couple of years to 600. We're a real school that's created something pretty magical here that allows our students to connect their learning with the real world, to do something with their learning rather than just learn for exams. And it's a place where everyone here is a learner and is able to, activate a sustainability mindset and to make the world better. I think that schools should be places that make the world better, not just create memory machines for factory floors and office jobs. And we're doing it. We've created it. And like I said, it's a different model, but our kids still go to uni. So it's quite awesome to be a part of a community. I've been here for 10 years, so I've been part of that. I came in after a pilot phase sort of thing. And so I've been here as a teacher, as a leader in middle school. And now this is my 5th year as a principal here to be a part and to be a part of an amazing group of educators that have created a working model of a new future-looking school that's aimed at educating for sustainability.
Beautiful, Sal. Oh man, it's so good. And I just feel very lucky. Thank you so much for the opportunity to come visit you. I have to say, with me and the Learning Future team, we still talk about that, and we're thinking about what we might do here in Australia, of course, in that space. One thing you said there, I want to pick up, because when we think about the future, and obviously that's an orientation that I have and that you have, I think the language you say, like, this is a school of what the future, like, of what a school of the future needs to do and be. Now, I'm curious, because I think in futures, there's all these different scenarios planning out. And what's not happening, if I can be bold, at Green School Bali is this kind of disembodiment where we're kind of completely addicted to some of the extractive technologies. And, there seems to be something about the recognition of place and place-based learning, or kind of, as you said, like ethical pieces that like education for sustainability, but in many different dimensions of sustainability. So, it seems to me that it is a future-oriented school, but there's a future that you're fighting for, it seems, as well in this school. It's not just we're gonna, I don't know, adopt the latest X or Y. It seems to be really nourished. Can you tell us more a bit about that? Because it seems like, this is in our work, there's all these different scenarios playing out about what the future could be and what should the preferred future be, and how do we shift shift the systems around this? Yeah, what would you state?
Awesome. Didn't put this in the pre-read, did you?
Mate, of course not. Nothing in
Hey,
nothing's in the
no,
pre-read.
to start with, we can't
Yeah.
be completely about what that future holds. But I think there are certain things that we know that are across possibly, human civilization, the time that we've been, humans that we know that we need, and that education unfortunately probably hasn't been aligned with things like, connection to nature.
Yes.
You know, that's got to be a part. It's got to be a key component of future generations, regardless of what the future is. Even if we solve the environment, we save the oceans, we save the whales, we plant the forests. It's still that connection to nature's got to be there. I think skills and values are something that more and more education organizations are looking at. Those skills don't change, and people call them 21st century skills. I don't even like soft skills and things like that. These are skills that have been a part of how we've developed societies across thousands of years. Creative thinking and critical thinking and communication and collaboration. We know that the future will need those skills rather than knowledge. But we also know that the smartest person in the room isn't the person that can remember the most information anymore. So we know that's part of the future. It's providing opportunities to activate and do something with those learnings. So there's important things that we've developed in our model, which is skill-based and values-based and nature-based. Valuing diversity is probably another one. We know that the future, regardless of what it is going to have a mindset of valuing diversity. It all comes down to you can just put your hand up when you want me to stop talking, but I think it all comes to that concept of culture building. The cultures that we create, whether it's the relationship with other people, with the natural environment, arts, technologies, food, languages, all of those things come from the education systems before them.
Sure.
And so Green School is not the perfect school, but it's modeling a future that's changing really fast, but it's very well aware of the skills we need, but also aware of its responsibility of an awareness and understanding of awareness of education being a cultural driver of the future. You think and you look around the environmental issues, the social issues. We're such a highly developed species. We're planning on going to Mars, but there's still global hunger and there's wars, all this stuff. We're in a lot of shit, man. But we're pretty awesome. It's nice to be able to order a burger and get it delivered to my door in 20 minutes. But something has to change. And I think I know that changes education.
Oh. Sal, this is why I like you so much. That is such a resonant philosophy with my own way that I see the world. It's why I chose to become an educator and to work in this field, is because it is the underpinning base plate upon which we build our societies.
Look at the Industrial Revolution, just created in an industrial mess. Linear economies, linear production consumption cycles, this concept of us being better than nature. Go back further, the Golden Age. Go back further, the Indigenous Australian way of imparting knowledge, and how a group of people lived in Australia, of all places, for 60,000 years. They must have had an amazing education system to do that. So what are we doing with the current education system that helps us create a culture that we want in the future?
Beautiful, Sal. I feel like one distinction I often reflect on is the difference between schooling, education, and learning. And I so often think, I don't think you're saying, certainly we're not saying that learning is the problem or education. It really is the mental models implicit in the schooling approach. And that's, as you said, rightly, if we look at the history of education, really does come from like a complete reacculturation of many generations towards an employee mindset, away from agrarian societies or community, local, into this global.
Writing that down. You've just said that heaps better than me. I'm writing it down.
Nah, Sal, this is what this is just a great chat, because I feel like when we consider the future, it's like, what future do we believe in? And there's a lot going on out there. There's the transhumanism movement. There's the techno-optimist movement. There's the thing we'll merge, or we'll put computer chips into our brains. And without doubt, some of those technologies will make people's lives better, undoubtedly. Like they will save lives. They will improve quality of life. But I often think maybe stoically,
Mm.
what's it all for then? Do we actually want to remove all struggle? My view is no, because as educators, like being in the learning pit is the point. It's the
Yeah.
struggle or the grappling, as Professor Stephanie Jones said on our last podcast. Like, how do we grapple and support young people to grapple? Like that is such a great verb. As you've been saying,
Mm.
rather than
Mm.
memorization, the lower order pieces of Bloom's taxonomy, it's actually like we want to grapple. You want to be growing your capacity, your competency, your dispositions. Otherwise, particularly with AI, like it's becoming less and less, this kind of ladder of knowledge is becoming less and less relevant. And I mean, it might still be one of the substructures in the character of a human being, but I think we're being challenged on, for really
Mm.
in a way that we haven't been in education systems by this new revolution that we're seeing around us. Hype notwithstanding. What's
Yeah.
your, because I think the Green School just sets forth this model of, well, we're actually going to be in nature because we are nature. And yes, we are going to use technology, but that's going to be to augment the learning experiences we want. So it seems to be more of a learning agenda rather than a technology agenda.
Mm.
How would you reflect on that, especially kind of a day in the life of a young person, which might be an interesting thing for you to describe? And maybe a
Yeah.
day in the life of a principal. That's always a really interesting day to describe.
Well, yeah, I don't think there's probably one answer to the day in the life, but people do ask me that. I can describe the day in the life of me, but that's probably very different every day.
Mm,
But there's a concept. I think there's probably underlying concepts that are important in the day of the life of everyone at Green School. The concept of the connection to nature. Your whole day is embedded in with nature and learning with nature as our greatest teacher.
mm,
Um, the concept of the community of learners is really big, I think, for everyone. Like we're learning
mm.
together with everyone and making a difference within our community. That's big. Um, Lots of experiential learning opportunities. So providing opportunities to do something real with your learning rather than
Yeah.
just learning for a test and things like that. We value the arts, music. It's funny that nearly every time I'm having a meeting, there's some music in the background. Um, school hasn't started yet. School for us starts next week. Um, but ways to celebrate learning, I
Yeah.
suppose,
Yeah.
other than just have it happening in a classroom, but to share and celebrate it amongst our community. That's really big. We've got a lot of animals on campus. It's not a farm school, but you can't go a day without having a real sort of moment with some of our animals as well.
Of course.
Yeah. We're in Indonesia too. We value the Balinese Indonesian people and culture, and that's a firm sort of thread that runs through all of our experiences. So a lot of my days and my favorite moments are with Indonesian and Balinese people. I love them a lot. Um, yeah, lots of thematic based learning. I'd say that's probably something that is in a lot of schools, interdisciplinary learning,
Yeah.
but really looking at sustainability objectives and outcomes in terms of thematic learning.
Yeah.
That's important. It's hard work. It's hot. We're in Bali. It's
Yeah.
always summer. I don't know if you're in Australia in the south now, it's probably really cold, but every day here is summer. Just sometimes it rains.
Uh-huh.
Um, yeah, so it's alive. It's fun. It's rugged. It's jungle. Real learning. There's laughter and music and sharing and celebrating. That's probably a description of my days. Yeah,
Gosh. Yeah.
and technology is part of that. But
Yeah.
hopefully, to summarize it, it might just be part of the solutions we're looking for when we talk about activated learning and learning for a sustainable future. Or we're trying to use technology old and new in terms of how we solve problems. We've got 50 plus sustainable solutions on campus that have come from student learning projects. So it's not a school where we've just planted a whole heap of solar panels. We've had students win $50,000 prizes and then build an energy hub that's got its own solar hydro system there. And the composting, seeds to table food things, our biobus network, which runs with 7 buses, uses reused, almost carcinogenic cooking oil from the smaller restaurants in our area,
Wow.
and we work with a partner and they turn that into biodiesel. It's about solutions to
Yeah.
make the world better, and that's the way that Green School Bali models this concept of educating for sustainability. So the technology is good. We know it's going to be a part of the future. It's another one of those future skills, but we see technology as a tool for a
Yeah.
sustainable future, not something to get distracted from and to play
Yeah.
with, I suppose. Yeah.
Yes, I'm always so curious about this, Sal, because there's this piece where, it's easy to let the technology lead us. I think this is
Mm.
what we can now see from the evidence around the impact of social media, for example,
Yeah. Yeah.
and the social dilemma and the Center for Humane Technology that are one of the big proponents of the impact, the negative impact, alongside some of the positive impacts, of course. But and then I think with the AI piece, if we let the technology lead us, there's no captain on the ship, to use a metaphor that you'd be close to. We're just
Yeah.
kind of being blown by the winds of whatever's happening, as opposed to,
Mm.
and that to me seems like, oh, it's a good idea to do something with technology because we know it's important, as opposed to saying, what is the learning experience that we think is optimal for
Mm.
our community, in our place, in
Yeah.
our part of this world? And then
Yeah.
from that, then find the tools and the solutions that align to that. I
Yeah.
think there's a temptation for all of us, myself included, as a bit of a geek, oh wow, this sounds amazing. But actually, what's this for? Is this in service of us? And
Mm.
you know, be it some of the founding members of AI technologies, be it Oppenheimer, which of course is a best-selling movie around, the idea once you create these technologies, they are out of the box. So we
Right.
either run them or they run us. And
Yeah.
I think the way that you've integrated it as a solution is a really powerful. And the other thing, Sal, is like modeling it. So we
Mm.
believe a world needs to be like this, and so our organization is also going to do it this way.
Yeah.
It's just so
Yeah.
real. You walk past it, as we did. You walk past it, and you're like, oh wow, okay, great. That's just how things are here. It's not talking about the project,
Yeah.
as if it's external. It's being the project.
Yeah.
You know,
I can imagine
I,
if every school on the planet decided to solve a sustainability issue within its community, whether that's waste or energy or water or social things, social justice.
mm,
It'd just be an automatic change moment in history.
mm,
If the government said, right, we're going to do this, every public school in Australia is going to find one sustainability project that means something to their community, and that school won't get its funding next year unless it helps at least start solving that problem. It needs to be embedded into the learning experience.
mm.
It'd be an immediate impact moment of change for a country, and that's what we've been, creating a model for here,
Yeah.
to allow schools to be those center of innovation, center of change within a community.
It's so good. And that agency that I think is also threaded there,
Yeah.
seeing young people walking around, chickens walking. I mean, it's an incredible environment. And I guess the point that I've realized so far, Sal, that like there's a difference between the methods and the principles, I think. I think it's a Ray Dalio line. The principles are few, but the methods are many. And
Yeah.
it's like, so here are the principles that can be applied anywhere in the world.
Yeah.
But those methods will be unique, be they,
Totally.
in Bali, Indonesia, or in New Zealand or South Africa or Tulum and the other
Yeah.
green school kind of networks. And then, every school should be kind of co-owned and co-authored, driven
You
by
think of it,
the
you could think of that
community.
as an
Yeah.
individual thing too, the principles and methods of learning for individual students. We're all different. We're all different types of people and learners, and we've got to value that diversity. And so the
Mm.
principles might be the same, but the methods of
Yeah.
learning and methods of
Deployment.
how we activate our learning can be
Yeah.
different. Yeah, that's really
So
cool.
I I was lucky again, listeners, that I happened to be in Bali on and visiting Green School on the Greenstone Day,
Mm.
which I wanted
Mm.
to reference because this is kind of a TED Talk style event for year 12, like final year students, where they really share like a project that they've been working on, they're really passionate about, a really deep kind of character oriented learning. And the diversity that we saw just in the few that we watched, so it was just so breathtaking. I mean, here's some young people that know how they want to contribute to the world, or at least know the questions they want to follow. And that's like, that really is, exactly the kind of attributes that we might want from young people, is a sense of, this is kind of what I think I'm uniquely placed to explore. And that is such a great question. It's like this,
It's
the
sort of like our
difference.
big exams, yeah.
Oh,
You remember finishing your exams in grade 12, and the feeling you would have had would have been sort of like relief.
it was
It's
relief.
over. It's over. It's over. It's over. And that's how I felt. And I think that's how everyone feels. But our students get off that stage and it's almost the opposite. They think it's just beginning.
Yeah.
Me as a human being able to
Damn.
follow my passions, that knowing that they can have impact, knowing that I have skills, knowing that I can contribute,
Yeah.
that I'm an important part and I'm ready. And they don't feel like anything's over. They actually feel like it's just beginning, and it's pretty awesome.
Oh, Sal, damn, that's inspiring. Oh man,
Check
I'm
them
just so
out if anyone's listening. Just Greenstone. The Green School Bali YouTube's loaded with awesome things, and our Greenstones all go on there. You will be blown away, and you will actually start thinking, you will be like questioning whether these are 18-year-old kids, because they're different humans after they come through our model for a few years. They're active, highly communicative, passionate, global citizens that see themselves as agents of change, and that can be in anything. That can be in a social justice thing. It can be environmental. It's quite empowering. And a grade 8s do it too. So we step it through the whole of the school. You graduate through primary, grade 5, with a footprint, and you do a project and you present it. It steps up into grade 8, a quest. I saw my own son change in front of my eyes.
Wow.
Yeah.
So that's like, these are these rites of passage, I think, that we must ensure in our education systems, in our processes, like where people can transform themselves. Like back to where we began this conversation.
Yeah.
It's all about that. It's like, I'm going to leave behind. It's not anything leaving behind. It's like, I'm going to move beyond my previous conception of who I was and what I could do and what I knew. And like that piece, I love the identity, skill, knowledge taxonomy, when really the goal is like, who are you and what can you contribute? That's a good question.
Yeah.
Instead of, what do you know?
Yeah.
Like, which is also a useful question, but it's just so incomplete, I feel. And I actually think with AI in particular, that will shift a shift of the orientation. It'll be the hand will be forced, I think, of a lot of education systems, because of the way that this is going to transform ways of working, ways of learning, ways of knowing. And to be ahead of the curve means to be, I think, real, gritty, authentic, experiential. Those kinds of expansive, and always, Sal, that's what I'm kind of really reflecting, with grappling and struggle at the center of a learning experience, not suffering, which I think is what sometimes we've created unnecessarily in education systems, but this struggle, the struggle of what we call productive struggle sometimes in the research. It's not just struggling for the sake of it. It's actually it enables growth and resilience in the right kind of ways. So I could talk to you for so much longer, man.
It allows failure, the concept of failure too. We talk about failure being a success criteria.
Nice.
And to most people at schools, that's people have to really think twice about it. But if you're an educator and you allow failure to be a part of the learning journey, then it's automatically going to be much more transformative. And real. Because we've failed a lot too. Starting up a school like this in the jungle, we've done some crazy stupid things, but that's just been part of our 15-year-old sort of mentality. And I suppose we're only 15. We're still gonna fail sometimes.
That's such a great reflection on leadership that's needed. It's leadership to say, we tried this, it didn't work. Because what's the alternative? Try nothing. Tweak the, it's I'm really taken by that, Sal. Hey, I've got one final question for you. Amongst about 50 that I've relegated for our next chat, which is, if you had a singular message for the people listening here who are largely educators and parents, innovators, and entrepreneurs, policymakers, those kinds of beautiful people. Thank you for listening. What would you leave them with to kind of mull over?
Yeah. Um, it's probably a concept around service. Like I see myself not as the boss here. I'm not the boss. I'm a servant to a community. I think our teachers are servants to students. It's a concept that has been thrown away or put in the back corner. I honestly believe that the being of service to the people on the planet is something that educators have the opportunity to do, and I implore educators and school leaders, teachers in every classroom to just to be aware, to understand how much of a service they provide, because that's why I'm in education, to be a servant to the people and to the planet. I think that's why I was put on the planet to serve this community and serve a future. And so for educators out there, just power yourself up. You're superheroes. You're service superheroes, because what you do changes the world, not just now, but it changes the world, the future world too. Be of service.
Ah, Sal, it's beautiful. Man, it's a real purpose, spiritual kind of orientation of what's this all for? Mate, thank you. Thanks for being of service in what you do there in Bali, and for our community as well. Thank you for sharing your wisdom, your reflections, and very authentically too. It's great to have had you here.
Yeah. Oh, it's my pleasure, Luca. Yeah. Take care.
Until next time.